Welcome to Let's Talk Autism, a podcast from the service users and professionals in the Adult Autism Service at North East London NHS Foundation Trust. In this series, we celebrate autism in line with Autism Acceptance Week by having open and real conversations exploring unique experiences, where there are inclusion gaps that still persist, and how we can foster true acceptance of autistic adults in our communities. Our goal is for listeners to walk away with a nuanced understanding of how to make a difference through acceptance of autistic adults. So, let's get started. Amazing. Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Autism. In today's episode, we'll be exploring cultural differences in autism and how this impacts the day-to-day life of an autistic adult. Today, I am joined by Noel, Marufa and Magan to explore this further and see how greater understanding of culture can lead to greater acceptance in the autistic community. We hope you enjoy this episode and it can answer some of the questions you may have. So let's get into some intros. Marufa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone. My name is Marufa and I'm mom of two. I have two young boys and I used to work in a nursery and in my last job I had some difficulty and then I left the job and at the moment I'm just staying at home.
Right, thank you, Marufa. And Noel, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Noel. Working, got a couple of kids, and just finding work experience hard.
And Magan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, hello everyone that is listening. I am Magan Hassan, and no, I am not currently working, unfortunately, because it's been tough to find a job. I've been unemployed for a long time now, so it's kind of like one of the main issues I have with my life, or probably the main issue of my life, which is what to do with my future. And I've been recently diagnosed with the autism. I got the diagnosis last year. I think that basically answers all your questions.
Amazing. Thank you all. So we'll get started. So the first question that I have for you is that from all of your experiences, being diagnosed as autistic, are there any cultural differences that you have noticed from your own background about understanding autism? Noel, would you like to start?
I would say it's possibly something that we possibly keep to ourselves. Yeah, I'd say it's something we probably keep to ourselves, but that's what I can say.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And would you be able to share a bit about your culture and what culture you're from?
I'm Caribbean English. It's, sometimes it's, when people don't understand things, if they don't understand it, sometimes you trying to explain it to them, it doesn't go across as it should,
Yeah, definitely. There's loads of differences with our cultures, isn't there? And I can see Magan also has something to add as well.
So it's basically pretty much the same thing as what Noel was saying. So I am Somali, and the thing is, obviously, when it comes to I have a brother who's also autistic, but obviously his one is more severe. So obviously, there's really when it comes to his case, there's not really hiding it because he has a learning disability, so everyone can notice. Whereas for me, obviously, because I guess my autism is more on the minor end, so I usually would prefer to not, basically not let not broadcast it to the world. So I even learned about masking, so I guess I'm probably already got used to it now, where I don't display my autistic traits, although sometimes I do, and surprisingly, no one comments on it. And so, yeah, when it comes to, pretty much, I still feel like the Somalis, because autism, it's a spectrum, so everyone can be different now. Obviously, I still feel like for a lot of Somalis, I haven't met one, perhaps maybe a few, or I don't know actually. But it's just most of the time of what I've noticed is that they just don't fully understand autism and they believe it's some kind of sickness. So, and that's the main reason why I don't like to talk about it especially to strangers, because it seems to be like autism is still not fully understood, and perhaps it's still being researched now, considering it's a whole spectrum, and obviously they take. Obviously, when it comes to autism, people, what I've noticed is that from some certain people is that they believe that my brother is like, when it comes to autism, they always think of my brother. So, and I feel like that's not really the correct interpretation. So, yeah, it's just the case of, and that's the main reason why I don't like to, expose expose is the right word, but you know what I mean. I don't like to broadcast or let people know unless those people are not going to judge me or they're not going to, if they're understanding and especially those that also have similar traits than I am, then So it's just very hard to talk to, especially in my culture, about autism because people just don't fully understand, and it's kind of like people live in the olden days, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, it can be really tough, I guess, with the reduced understanding and, of autism in different cultures. So trying to, be yourself and open up can feel really hard at times. And I think Marufa as well has got something to add.
I'm from Bangladesh, and I lived there for nearly 30 years before coming to UK. And from my experience, what I have seen, that people has little or no idea about autism yet, and the people who are from upper class, who are earning a lot of money or have a very good educational background or social background, only those people can access the treatment for their children, is because it's completely private. They don't get any help from the funds or nothing. So it's so difficult for those people who doesn't have this privilege to spend money for their children. So these children who live there, they need to stay at home most of the time, because people look at them like a disgrace. Like, if you take your child to an event or in an open place in a mall or somewhere, they're gonna judge you. They're gonna look at you. They're gonna say something which is not very nice to hear. And because of all this stigma and all these taboos, parents do feel scared to take their children outside. And it's very difficult for these children to survive in this environment. Luckily, I am from a very privileged background where my parents had access to find a doctor or a specialist. But then, still, unfortunately, because of the lack of knowledge and everything and the training, the psychiatrist even couldn't figure out what is the problem with me. He thought I am genius because he asked me some math question. I replied all of them. They were correct, and he thought I'm a genius, and that's why I don't have any mental problem or any other disorder or nothing. So I struggled a lot because of my condition. So I think you got the point that in my country, how people think about autism. And
wow, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Marufa. And definitely, I think it presents so differently, and we always need to be aware of the cultural context. And I think, even just reflecting on my own culture, so I'm Nigerian, and just thinking that in our culture, again, autism is something that's not really talked about, it's not really explored, and kind of similar to, like you mentioned, Magan, unless somebody has a learning difficulty, then it's not, or a learning disability, then it's not usually picked up. And I think there's kind of just some differences in even some of the things that we look for within autism. Like I know within my culture, it's rude to give eye contact to people that are older than you. But, that's something that we would look for when diagnosing and assessing autism. So, yeah, it's really, really interesting to hear all of those cultural differences. And I guess that kind of, leads me on to my next question, and some of the things that you guys have began to mention is how does the stigma vary within your culture? And like in what ways have cultural norms and attitudes impacted autism acceptance?
Yeah, I think what it's down to at the end of the day, it's down to people just not understanding what's going on. So, for instance, now that I've been diagnosed with autism, yeah, it's like, sometimes you can see it in other people. So, sometimes when people are giving somebody a hard time, I sort of like say, look, maybe there's something else going on. It's not, what I mean, black and white, sort of like this, there's something definitely, not right there. You need to ask, what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to explore, what's going on for somebody beyond the surface and beyond what we see and what we're aware of. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Noel. And Marufa, I can see you've got something to add.
Yeah, it might sound a bit funny to you guys, but when my mom learned about my diagnosis, she told my dad about it. And when my dad learned that, the first thing he said, he completely denied it. He couldn't accept it. And first thing he said that maybe she got some reaction because she has gallbladder stones. She's not feeling well, and that's why she's behaving in that way. And they just misdiagnosed her, and she has no problem. And I understand why he's telling me all this, because from my cultural background, if a girl, especially when I'm saying a girl, is because in my culture, if a girl has any disorder or anything, and they're married, even if they're married or not married, it puts their future on the stake. Like I think as a father, maybe he feels so scared about it, he didn't want to accept it.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Marufa. And that sounds like a lot and quite difficult, actually. Revealing that to your parents and then having that reaction. And like you said, I think there's other factors here as well, thinking about, gender, as well, and how that has an interplay with our culture as well, and what that means in our communities. Thank you for sharing that, Marufa. And Magan, did you have something to add?
So it's just basically, it's kind of related to what I said previously. To be honest, again, I've not, because I've really kept I haven't spoken to anyone else apart from, of course, maybe my obviously my mom and my sisters know, and yeah. So unfortunately, it's kind of like it's just been that's kind of the norm in for what I've discovered from my culture, and this is why I rather I rather not talk about autism, especially to in my culture. Again, except yeah. So it's just yeah. Hopefully, I understand what I'm saying, because my mind is kind of like going elsewhere, and then I'm kind of lost for words.
No, it was great. Thank you so much, Magan, for that. Yeah, definitely, we can understand that. And I guess that kind of quite nicely actually leads me on to my next question for you, which I think some of you have begun to touch upon as well, which is that what are some of the cultural myths or misconceptions about autism that need to be dispelled in your cultures?
So yeah, I feel like we all touched. Okay, well, I particularly touched upon it.
Yeah.
So for the first thing, number one, obviously people, especially in my culture, needs to understand that autism is a spectrum. So just because it's not like my brother is not the only type of autism, although it is the extreme case, but obviously because they just need to understand that autism has wide a wide array of different effects, and people have certain difficulties, but they can still turn out to be quite normal, if that makes sense. So they just need to understand there's a reason why it's called autism spectrum disorder. So they definitely need to understand that there's many different types of autism. Just varies from person to person. My brother is not the only case, if that makes sense. And the other one is even I'm struggling. Even this is something I've noticed from, especially in my culture, is that basically they still believe that autism is a sickness or some kind of illness or disease. I understand why they say this, because I mean, even they still classify as some autism as some kind of, I don't know if it's a disorder or condition. I understand. Yeah, so I can understand because of this. This is where they developed this understanding that they think that autism is a sickness, which I don't think is correct, because that you can also argue that dyslexia is also a sickness and other conditions. Just because people have certain difficulties doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, this is a sickness that needs to be cured, like if urgently, like other diseases or mental health problems. So I understand why I said this, which is why I feel like the word condition is kind of a safe word, because it doesn't necessarily mean the person is ill. But so that's basically, I think that's it. I forgot what else to say.
That's all right. Thank you so much, Magan. And, I completely agree with you. And I think, some of the things you shared reminded me of that saying that some of you guys may be familiar with, which is that, once you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, and that everybody is completely different. So understanding that difference and celebrating it can be really helpful. Marufa, did you have something to add?
So first thing that is that they take it like as if someone is ill and they're gonna cure it, and that is completely wrong. And second thing is that when they think like it's a disease, they try to put lots of medication and do some doctor's visits and put this person in lots of stress, and that is not right.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true. And thank you for sharing that, Marufa. And I think I was just thinking, as you guys were answering about some of the cultural myths and misconceptions from where I'm from, and I think similar to you guys, it's like, that autism is a disease, that, somebody in the family, maybe the parents or the child or the person, the adult, has done something wrong to get a diagnosis of that. So yeah, there are so many misconceptions that I think we need to explore and work to dispel them. I wasn't sure if you had anything to add, Noel.
Yeah, I just think, obviously, everybody has a view on, the way people are. But at the end of the day, we are all of us, even though, we may be under the thing. You know what I'm trying to say? The word.
Yeah, the spectrum.
Yeah, we may be underneath that, yeah. But, we all got our own way of dealing with things. So it's like we may have a problem, but we'll get it sorted one way or the other. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's, about treating you all as individuals. And not trying to group everyone together. So yeah, I was also then just thinking about for you guys, as autistic individuals, how has your cultural background shaped your diagnosis and your disclosure journey?
Yeah, just one little line here. When I went for my assessment for ADHD, the person who was there, who was assessing me, he asked me one question: what is your hobby or passion? I told him directly, look, I love cooking. And the first thing he said about that, oh, that's very normal for an Asian woman. You do it every day, daily to day life. And I said it clearly, listen, I'm sorry, but I said it's my passion. I'm very much passionate about it, and I do it with lots of engagement, and I don't like interruption during my cooking sessions. And he didn't take it seriously. he just took it as a very normal thing, a day-to-day thing for from his point of view. And also when I told him that I have some sensory issues and I don't like taking showers every day, he made a very weird face. He showed a lot of disgust about it, as if I said something very disgusting. And he asked me the question, "How do you feel when you don't take shower? Isn't it awful? Doesn't it smell?" And I was shattered, Megan. Sarah. I was very, uh, I was kind of, went into a depression for that period because I couldn't believe that a person who is sitting next to me, who is a very educated person who knows how to approach their patients with dignity, I completely lost my words in that time.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry that happened, Marufa. And thank you for, being really open here and sharing that experience with us. And, I think that's really just an example and a reminder, even for us and for me as well, as a professional, to kind of not, buy in to stereotypes and to make sure that we're always looking beyond kind of, what Noel was saying earlier, looking beyond face value, and exploring and getting to know our clients better and how we can support them. So yeah, I apologize that that was your experience, but thank you for sharing that. And I was just wondering, Noel, if you had something to add.
Diagnosis. Diagnosis was yes. I think what happened with the diagnosis, I actually asked for it because I was like just reading up and sort of like saying, look, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And I asked for it. So obviously, when the diagnosis came, it was good. After that, it was I was like, I would say I was like annoyed because obviously I'd spent like most of my life as a person going through this, and people, asking me silly questions that I couldn't answer. And obviously, because of the way you are, you cannot, it's not all the time you're going to understand what someone's saying to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And thank you, for sharing that. And I'm glad that, you kind of noticed some things and you went forth for that assessment. And I guess thinking maybe about disclosure, has, your cultural background meant that you've maybe not disclosed your diagnosis to certain people in your life?
I have. I think what I've just said to everybody, I've just said to them, look, the way I am, so I might be, what's the word? I'm sort of like, I would say I don't really go to like parties or gatherings. For me, it's like, I think there's just too much noise going on there. And I just explain to everybody that I need to explain. I said, look, parties is not my thing. I think it's just the noise. It's just too much. Even when I go out sometimes, if I get on a bus, I don't go out during, school time because I don't need the noise. So I try to go at a quiet time. Even when I go shopping, I'm the first one in, the first one out.
Yeah, definitely. And it's helpful. Sorry, go on.
Get it over and done with,
Yeah, definitely. And, it can be really helpful to do that and, learning about yourself and what helps, and communicating that with people so that they can understand as well how to support you. It's definitely. And I guess that leads me on to my next question for you all, which is, how can we work to promote autism acceptance across cultures globally? What do you guys think needs to change for cultures to be more accepting of autism?
I guess the best way is just education. It's just educating people. You might just, it's probably easier said than done. But yeah, it's just kind of letting people know that, autism is not one thing, is many things. And again, it's not an illness. It's just, again, I have to use condition as like a safe word. It's just something people have that, yeah, they may have difficulties, but then they may, but sometimes there could be some, there could be some benefits. Like, some people might be smarter. Some people might might be able to, do things in a different way, and it works for them. So it's just a case of, I don't know. It's just yes, it's kind of a hard question. All I can say is just educating, but then it's also like it's possible that they hear and they probably meet people, or maybe they may experience it within their own relatives. It's just about the education and experience of maybe perhaps meeting an autistic person other than what they perceive of, whether it's on television or what they believed in the past. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that, Magan. And Marufa, did you want to add to that?
Sarah, I think it's all about how you think about something, your mentality about something. For long time ago, when people were divided into class or race or according to their religious belief, there was lots of discrimination, and only certain people had to get the respect from other people. And in the modern time, we have completely got rid of the whole norm that respect is for everyone. Everyone deserves the respect. And now it's high time we should follow the same policy when it comes about autism, that an autistic person shouldn't be compared with a neurotypical person. They shouldn't be compared that why he can't do this or that. It should be more like looking for his or her strength. Because when you look at a neurotypical person, you don't judge them because they are less than anyone. You don't ask them why you're not a doctor, why you're not an engineer, why you're not an artist. You just accept them the way they are. Same applies to an autistic person. And recently there's a trend going on online that people are talking about some celebrities who are autistic. At the beginning, I thought is a good way to introduce the whole concept to people. But then what I realized recently, now people started to think like, okay, my son or my daughter is autistic, and in the future, he or she is going to be a great person or a big celebrity. But that's not the truth. Not every single autistic person behave or think or have the ability in the same way. So we have to make that bring that awareness to the people that every single neurotypical person and every single autistic person, they are individual, they are unique, and they have their unique strength. So it's better we just focus on their strengths instead of their weakness.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Marufa. And, completely agree with what you have shared there. We need to respect each other and accept each other for who we are, and give people the space to be themselves as they should be. Noel, did you have anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I think what I would say is that sometimes when you do look at these celebrities, sometimes they can be a stepping forward, a step for the person that's in that position. So you may have people that are, for instance, I can tell you all the people that are dyslexic, and I can tell you all the people that are autistic, like celebrity wise, so you look and you sort of like, so look where they are, or look how well they've done, it's like, it can expire, so it's like, you have like, like Jamie Oliver, he's dyslexic. Yeah. Now he's come a long way, but years ago that wouldn't have been something that we'd mentioned, but it's out there, and that will help other people that are in that position. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's really helpful to have some of these well-known people as well, kind of advocating.
Sure.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
sorry, Magan, did you want to add something?
So I wanted to comment what Noel was talking about when it comes to celebrity. Okay, I mean, maybe it's just how autism is being displayed on, I guess, on the media, because I feel like it's not. Maybe now it's been improved, but I don't think it was in the past. Because I can think of like maybe old films or maybe TV characters that they may have autism, but I feel like again, it's because of the way they were perceived, people thought, oh, just because this person has autism, that means they're smart, or this person, is a terrible at socializing. So it's examples like, from TV, like, or films. Maybe it's improved now. I have not been caught up to it, but for example, like those film, I think one good example is like, they feel like, autism's like something like this. So if you know Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory, so that character, although he's not been labeled as such, people just tend to pick up on how he interacts with others, or how he behaves, and they say, oh, okay, that's what autism is like. Whereas I feel like that's not entirely true. So it's just the case of, maybe it isn't. Again, I'm not sure if it's improved. Maybe it's improving now, but I feel like it's just, again, they always feel like, because of the way it's been perceived in television or film, people view autism as kind of one type of condition or one type of thing that people have, and they just get the wrong impression because of these characters. So I feel like, and that's why I said, I mean, perhaps nowadays maybe it's improving in film and television, but I do feel like the best way for even in my culture or others to understand autistic people is just to meet them. And that's what I said about, because obviously when you see real examples, then it's kind of like, they will know that, they'll understand autism better from the individuals themselves, rather than just some, these characters on TV. So I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe TV is improving on that, but so I have not come across that, and perhaps I'm just talking from the late 2000s or the 2010s.
No, thank you so much for sharing that, Magan. I think you've all raised a really important point, actually, that, representation and how autism is portrayed in the media is actually really important, for how we understand it and how we can promote autism acceptance, and even thinking culturally how it's portrayed to different cultures and how they have that idea, and like you said, Magan, it's really helpful to actually meet somebody, and get to know them for who they are individually. So completely agree with all of you. And I guess my next question, I will open it up to all of you. What advice would you guys give to somebody who was waiting to seek a diagnosis but was worried about being accepted by their culture? Magan, do you want to start?
So obviously, for a person that is waiting for the autism diagnostic, and they're worried about them not being, so for me personally, I would say that you just have to think about why you're doing it, and don't worry about everyone else, because they don't. Yeah, just don't let them define you. You define yourself, if that makes sense. So it's just remember why you're doing it, and if you want to know, so for me, I just wanted to know more about myself. So, and I guess so if that's really so if this is what you're thinking about, then yeah, just go for it. And then I mean, when it comes to, it's really up to you. You don't even have to disclose it to people. You can just keep it to yourself, and if you're very good at masking, then so be it. But even if that starts to crack, the mask, you unmask, just be honest. And then if they're not going to accept you, then so be it. Then these people are not your friends. And unfortunately, this is just the unfortunate reality of human society, is that there's a lot of bad people out there, and it's kind of like, no, that maybe you're never going to be accepted. But as long as you have that, those people that you care about, family or friends, I feel like that was what really matters to you. But let's say if you don't have that, then again, I mean, there's still. I mean, it's good to hear that there's an autistic community out there. So there's definitely going to be at least one person that that may have similar traits to you, and then they're kind of looking for a friend like you. So at least, yeah, it's just thinking about, yeah, so just thinking about why you're doing this. Don't worry about others, because in the end, you're just learning about yourself. Don't let them define you. You may know autism better than others. So, so for me personally, like, even if people are going to treat me badly, in the end, I mean, what can I do? In the end, for me, all I care about is just, again, yeah, I mean, I just, you know, in the end, as a Muslim, obviously, God is the one that judges me. So I don't really care what, I shouldn't really care too much what others say. And then as long as I have a supportive networks, which is my family, then, and some friends, then yeah, for me, that's what really matters. So I hope that makes all sense. So sorry, I
Yeah.
tend to ramble a lot.
No, that was absolutely great. Thank you so much, Magan. That sounds like really, really helpful advice. And what about you, Marufa?
From my experience, I might say something a bit different than, when it comes about diagnosis in UK, with people who are from Asia or South Asia, and we do face some different things. We struggle in a different way. It's because I know at least 4 or 5 people who has autistic children, and when I spoken to them, what I realized, even if their children's symptoms are very serious, still they are not getting the proper help what they deserve, or the waiting time is so long that they can't take it anymore. And at the end of the day, they feel very frustrated. So what I tell them that it doesn't matter how long you need to wait. Just think about your child who is in a state of somewhere that he or she doesn't know what to do about with their life, because the world they live in is so different for them. They don't know how to let other people make them understand that how they feel really. So for the sake of their future happiness and security, and uh, have a very a smooth and anxiety free life, you should seek help. And until or unless you get the help, you should not stop, and stop worrying about your family and relatives, because at the end of the day, what matters is knowing yourself, and let other people know you about yourself, because you are the owner of your life. No one own you. You are the owner. So take the lead and go for it. Don't worry, because at the end of the day, if you're smiling and your children are smiling, that's all you need.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Marufa. That was really, really great and amazing. Yeah, prioritize yourself. Here is what I'm kind of hearing from yours and Magan, go forth and do it if you need to. Noel, did you have any advice for anyone listening?
Yeah, I agree with the two that's been said before, and also it's like the reason I actually got my or what was important about my diagnosis is that obviously if my kids or my grandchildren are in the same situation, I want to be able to help them as well. Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's like we say, we maybe all have the diagnosis of of autism, yeah, but it doesn't mean that we're not any better than anybody else. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're good, and sometimes even with our minds can actually be sometimes sharper than what they would call normal. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for that, Noel. And Magan, did you have something to add?
So I wanted to comment on, I think, Marufa. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. So I wanted to mention, I was going to comment on that further about, yeah. So for me personally, yeah, the waiting time is really horrible, and I can understand. And I've read online about that's probably why people don't pursue a diagnostic, even though they believe that they have autism, because of the waiting times. And I mean, I don't know what to say about that, because in the end, it's really up to you whether you want to get diagnostic or not. Diagnosis is probably useful because you can, use it as like evidence for you know, how do I say this? You can use it. So sometimes people might ask for proof about autism in certain scenarios, and or if you want some, yeah, so you can kind of. But a lot of the time, you kind of people will just believe you anyways. So I can understand, yeah, like the waiting time can be really terrible, and yeah, it's really up to you whether or not you want to diagnose. For me, it's good to know because I won't trust online because I rather trust it's going to the doctor and then they can talk about it with somebody and you can trust them more. But in the end, I mean, it's just a matter of, is a diagnosis really important to you? Because obviously people will argue that it's just a piece of paper at the end of the day, you don't really need it. That's what I've read people say. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying that with the waiting times, just remember why you're doing it, and then if you can't do it, I mean, yeah, that's really up to you. I don't know what to say.
No, that's great. Thank you, Magan. And Marufa, did you have a response for that?
When someone thinks like the diagnosis is not important, let me tell these people that how it feels like that when you are an autistic person and you have no diagnosis, you are just barely breathing. That is not, I can't call it living. And even sometimes I felt like I was dead inside because, uh, every single day was like, I was feeling like, why I am here in this world? What's the purpose? And why I feel so different. So when you get the diagnosis, now you understand why you are different and how now it helps you to guide yourself to have a life where you can communicate with neurotypical in a proper way. And also now they're going to stop judging you. And finally, you start living because breathing is not living. These two are completely different.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Marufa. And I'm just conscious of time, so I'm just going to go on to our final question that we've got, which is, what examples of cultural autism acceptance have you seen or experienced that have given you hope? So, Magan, would you like to start with that one?
So I understand you have to worry about time. I just wanted to kind of comment back on, first of all, what Marufa was saying. So for me, when I said about not needing an autism diagnostic, I'm not. So hopefully you have a few minutes for me just to respond to that. I'm just saying that I'm not saying this. For me, I would say it's good to have it, but I'm just at the end of the day, you can't. People have different opinions, and I just don't want to debate with them longer. So I just want to respond to that. And then as for the, I think the question was about, have you seen any autism acceptance in my culture? So for me, it's kind of like I'm kind of gonna say no, but kind of a maybe, because the only one I can, I mean, as long as obviously my family are like, they're not, I mean, only so like my sisters and my mom, they're very supportive of me, so that's good. But when it comes to, I mean, it's kind of like, obviously with my brother's case, obviously they're not gonna come and say, oh, this person's a terrible person, and because obviously seeing my brother who has an extreme, he has a learning disability as well, obviously they have no choice but to accept that. But obviously they kind of like, they feel sorry for him. Yeah, so I can, and obviously he has his own difficulties. But again, when it comes to because autism being a spectrum and is a wide range of traits that people have, right? There's different people with different things. Yeah, so regarding that, and I guess this is where I would fall into, because I am not exactly like my brother. Yeah, unfortunately, no, I have not seen that, and that's probably why I decided, I thought, nah, I'd rather just keep it to myself because I don't, is not the business. So yeah, I have not seen that. Maybe it exists, I just haven't seen it. So I just feel like it's just going to be a long process before everyone understands that autism is, and maybe by then people will have a much better understanding of what autism is. But I feel like maybe we're not there yet.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that, Magan. Still a lot of work to be done. And I guess for you, Noel, did you have any examples of any cultural acceptance that you've seen or experienced?
I suppose, like I said, I mean, I've spoken to my family. I think they're the most important. So, they haven't really, they're either gonna, it's gonna be what it is. If they can't accept it, then they need to move on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think sometimes it's just best to just go out there and just say, look, maybe let's say you start a new job and you just say to the person, look, I've started this job. Obviously, you know that I'm autistic, and we just take it from there. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel, just tell them as it is. If someone wants to take you, they will take you. If they don't want to take you, then if you need to take them to court, you take them to court. you know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Noel. And Marufa, I wasn't sure if you had anything to add for a final question.
I'm not sure, but from my life, from my experience, I must say I'm from a Bengali family, and my husband is from he's also from Bangladesh. So in my country, it's very difficult for a man to accept a woman who has any sort of uh, issues with their mental or physical health. They do judge them based on their condition, and sometimes they also get divorced because of that. There's a big thing there, and women struggle a lot because of that compared to men. So I got very lucky that after my diagnosis and throughout my diagnosis process, he was always there. He was always there, and I'm terrible with writing, so he tried to help me with all my forms, all my writing, so that I didn't need to struggle. And he went there with me all the time so that I feel confident about myself. And till now, he's still helping me when I'm in this recording. He's taking care of my children so that I don't feel anxious.
Oh, that is amazing. And that sounds really, really lovely. Thank you for sharing that, Marufa. And I'm glad, you've had that experience, and even with yourself as well, Noel, with your family being so accepting. Sounds really, really helpful. Magan, would you like to add a final comment?
Yeah, I know. That's just when I saw. Sorry, when I was hearing Noel talking about, I think he was talking about in general society, so maybe not necessarily my culture, his culture. So I just wanted to say that, I mean, I'm glad that maybe nowadays, I guess at least in the UK, that people are, more accepting with autism. Like, for example, like even like here, like you could talk about it here, and obviously it's not like you're not gonna judge us and you think we're mentally ill and that. So I'm glad that obviously, this seems like this is like a safe space to talk about this. But I just wanted to say again, I don't think the world is quite ready yet. Especially, I would even comment from my culture. I don't think we're there yet because there's still, yeah, the world is just an ugly place. That's the honest truth. There may be some goodness in it, but unfortunately, toxicity exists. And again, we're just not there yet. Maybe in the future, when autism is better understood and maybe people are more aware of it, then yeah. But I'm just saying we're not there yet. But there's some development. Maybe not necessarily my culture, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is still work to be done. And I think Marufa wanted to add something.
I did realize recently that when you wait for the right time and right person or something for right thing to happen, that waiting time will never end. So what we can do as an individual, because we are autistic, so we know how it feels like when you're an autistic. So it's our duty to spread it among the people so that they know and they understand the whole thing. And then slowly, slowly, they might start accepting. And I'm doing my bit. Trust me, Sarah, I'm doing it every single day. Whenever I meet someone from my community, I talk about it, I disclose my diagnosis, I talk about my children's problem, and I don't feel any shame on it because I do believe it's my moral duty to spread the awareness. I should not just wait for the right time and right people.
Yeah, definitely. And, thank you so much for being so open and honest and, doing your part, as you've said, Marufa. And I think, like you mentioned, Magan, we still do have a long way to go and a lot of work to do. But this has been a really insightful and amazing conversation with you all. And I just want to thank you all again for your participation and for coming on the podcast. We really, really appreciate you and all of your views. So yeah, we thank you all the listeners for listening to this episode, and we hope to catch you in another one. So we'll sign off and we'll say bye now. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Autism, a podcast run by the service users and professionals from the North East London Foundation Trust Adult Autism Service. That's all for today's insightful discussion, and I'd like to thank our guests once again for sharing their perspectives and experiences so openly. This podcast aims to foster greater understanding, acceptance, and inclusion for autistic adults. We still have work to do, but conversations like this help us move that mission forward. We hope you will join us in another episode, and until then, be open, inclusive, and accepting to foster a more welcoming society for the autistic community.